Here we are, another video. A video. This is just a video. A movie. A feature-length film.
Fast forward it, turn it off. Put on Spanish subtitles.
For all of the mistakes we make.
Yes.
Spanish subtitles.
Donde está
Biblioteca.
mi motivo?
This is a great intro.
Hooray!
We have Tungaru, so stay tuned.
Bye!
Bye! Here's another week of specular reviews. As we said, Tungaru is our game. We did a first impressions video and we've now played it a bit more.
First impressions can be deceiving.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has fluctuated quite a bit playing it multiple times now. Let's give a quick overview. Tungaru is by Alley Cat Games. The designer is...
Louis and Stefan Malz.
Thank you, Keegan.
You're
I
welcome.
can't see the box.
I have super eyeballs.
So in Tungaru, players will take on the role of the leader of their clan, trying to spread out their influence across the islands. They will be taking various actions throughout the game, using the dice as a form of worker placement. They will be trying to build monuments, settle the islands, recruit nomads from those islands to their culture board, and harvesting those islands for resources in order to do all those actions. At the beginning of the round, the first player will roll their 3 dice, and all the other players will match the dice pip and place that on their boat. Once every player has matched the dice that the first player has rolled and placed them on their boats, they will take their hand of 5 cards and select a leader that they'd like to use that round. Every leader has a unique immediate bonus and a unique action that they can use throughout the round, as well as 2 additional spots to use for resource. Once every player has chosen a leader that they'd like to use, they will reveal it, take their immediate bonus, in this case the fisher gains an extra fish and storage for that round. Then, in clockwise order, starting with the first player, you will take actions using your dice. There are 6 types of actions. Sailing, you'll use a dice, any number, to sail around to the different islands. Your boat is always connected to 2 islands based on the docks that are shown on the player board. Harvest is to pay a dice matching the dice shown on the particular island that your boat is touching and gain that resource. Settling is to get out an extra worker on one of the 2 islands that your boat is touching, essentially acting as an additional action that you can use throughout the round. You can trade, in which you may use one of your settlers out on the board to trade resources for another resource. In this case, I can use the pearl for 2 fish, here and here. Or, if this is already out on the board, I may take the pearl instead. Travel allows me to move my settler to various islands. You may cross an island where your boat is by using a dice, which allows you to then also use that action later on. Or you may move to another adjacent island, but your settler gets placed face down and cannot be used that round. The last action is to recruit, which is to take a nomad from an island that your boat or settler is on and pay the resources and play it on your player board here. There are different types of bonuses that the nomads will provide you. Some are ongoing, some are a use that you'll gain you points, some of them are a one-time effect. Whenever you recruit a settler, you will build a monument. You will pick a monument from anywhere on your player board and place it on that island. Then, from the 2 connecting islands from where you recruited, you will select which new settler you'd like to place there. Then, from the face down pile, refill it. Once the round is over, everyone will pass that leader that they just used to the next player. Then, the first player will roll the 3 dice again, everyone matches, and you'll pick a new leader. So the game ends when the entire deck of settlers runs out, and then all 4 spaces of the migration spaces are empty. That will trigger the end of the game, you'll finish out the round, and then you'll go to final score. So guys, what do we think of this?
Max put it very nicely at the beginning, saying first impressions are deceiving at times.
Yes. Like our first impressions video said, we were a little apprehensive going into the first game. We're pleasantly surprised. We liked it a lot more than we thought we were going to, but it's kind of waning a bit for me as we now have played several times. We seem to have some issues with it that don't quite feel great playing the game, which is a little unfortunate.
The flaws become a little bit more apparent after multiple plays.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing are these migration islands that we talked about. I know, Keegan, you were talking a little bit about it, if you want to actually go into more detail.
Yeah, so like Ryan says in the rules, after you recruit somebody, you move another nomad from like migration space onto that island that you recruited from. However, the island that you recruited from, there's only 2 options to pick, which can be limiting because in this most recent game we played, one side of the islands was getting really great nomad tiles and the other side was getting garbage ones. So it would be better if you had more of a choice of what you're recruiting. So if you're getting skunked by having bad tiles on one side of the island, you could at least pick from any of the 4 spaces and move them all the way over to you so you can start getting some better tiles on your side, which would be nice.
Yeah.
Which I think they tried to kind of do a workaround for that with the chief card, but it's so tricky to time. The timing for that card is really difficult to pull off.
Because even with the chief card, it lets you swap 2 nomads, but the nomads have to already be on an island, and the 2 islands have to be adjacent.
Yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Do they have to be adjacent? I thought it could just be anywhere. Any 2 islands.
I thought we said it was adjacent.
I'm pretty sure it's any 2 islands. You just can't do the nomad island.
Oh,
These ones.
That's slightly better
but
then.
Still, it needs to be timed just right so that you could switch it and then buy it immediately, because switching it is an entire turn in itself. So if you switch it, someone could just come right along and end up benefiting and taking that tile right under you, if anything.
Well, not only that, but the chief also, I mean, he gives you first player, but other than that, which is good, but other than that, it doesn't hardly give you as good of benefits as a lot of the other cards. So if you happen to not time it perfectly, then you've almost just wasted.
Yeah, and it does feel like a waste. Even just for the switch doesn't feel like enough. Like, you feel like because there's just not enough, I guess, rounds in this, that by not having that extra little bonus from the worker, like a worker, the fisherman, the trader, to just kind of give that up for an entire round, feels really difficult.
Even the beggar's like, the more we play, the more I'm realizing how good the beggar is, not necessarily because you get to take resources from everyone else, but the fact that you have to pay 1 less resource to recruit a nomad is super good.
Yes.
Especially if you're like, I couldn't get pearls the entire game, so I would just use the beggar and never spend pearls.
And honestly, the giving other players 3 points is nothing in this game.
No.
Like, you could... Max got up to 102 points. We were at 75.
Max was
68.
was losing a good chunk of the game at during final scoring at the very end, 44 points, and just swept it.
So really, the 3 points in being able to potentially get 2 resources for that round is hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
Not only that, I think he also, if I remember correctly, he also has a thing where he gets you. No, he doesn't. Never mind. Never mind. I thought he had a thing that got you 2 resources, but he doesn't.
I mean, in the chieftain, if you look at him, he gives you 2 fish, but 2 fish are whatever. Like, I feel like because you're missing out on some other good bonuses, it should be at least maybe two pearls then too, or something to make him feel a bit stronger. Because there's a lot of times like I don't want to play this chief because
It's not
it's
as
just
good.
not as beneficial. I'm not getting the most out of my turn that I can
Yeah.
with some of these other ones.
I think the game tries to give you the illusion that you can do whatever route you want to win.
Yeah.
And there are absolutely routes that are way more powerful than others. The first
Yes.
game we played, like we talked about in First Impressions, I went this flower route where it's set collection. If you have one of every flower, you get the points for that flower. But the flowers suck. You have to get 5 tiles for
Yeah.
11 points max.
Yeah,
Or 12 points,
not-
and it's nothing.
And like we said, with the only having with the migration tiles, they kind of like are on one half, like 2 on each half of the board. Trying to collect those flowers is kind of difficult because you have to run around this whole thing trying to
Yeah.
collect them all. It's a lot of wasted turns,
And, like-
simply for just 11 points when you could just happen to do what Max did, get 44 points just from having a whole bunch of settlers out.
Yeah,
right?
and having duplicates of the same scoring mechanic, which is
Yeah.
what Max did. So he
Which
had
you can't
11
even
points
do
per
that
tile.
with
Yeah.
the flowers. So it's not even like the flowers give extra.
No. You get
So-
12 points for 5 tiles versus 11 points for 1 tile.
Yeah.
Well, I had 4 of them, but
Yeah, but,
that's always- yeah.
yeah.
per
For
tile.
one- yeah.
But
The
you have-
tile was 11, and
Yeah.
you had 4 of them.
and it's I don't know, and like Max Bradley was like, well, probably because the flowers give you a better in-game benefit, but they really don't.
They
the
won't-
benefits
yeah.
are kind of spread out all across the board. Like if all the flower tiles were the bonus harvest, I would get it. Because
Yeah.
it's like they give you something at the beginning of the round, and so they won't give you as many points at the end.
They usually give you either a bonus resource or a way to sacrifice a resource to gain points, but not all of them.
But even like, I tried to go the set like pay resources for just straight up points throughout the game, but
Yeah.
that's actually a very, very difficult strategy to do. I tried to go it when we played with you, me, and Bram. It is very, very difficult to do. Like to try to like ignore other things and just try to build like a little engine to trade the resources for a
Yeah.
bunch of points.
Well, because
But
everything
it's
needs
even-
resources in
Yeah,
this game. So you're sacrificing a resource to get 10 or 15 points here, but then you're not buying settlers, which can multiply points.
Yeah.
So
it's
And the fact that you can only do them one time per round, that strategy just doesn't quite work
No.
in this game.
And
it's
like-
just sort of like little bonus points throughout if you just happen to have an extra resource that you don't really need.
yeah. And like Max said, like the more powerful selling mechanic stuff is on the flower ones, but even then it's still spread evenly across the board. Like this bonus that gives you points for every tile that has like the bonus warehouse area. You can still do the selling action on that one.
Yeah.
And you can do it twice.
Yeah.
And you get 14 points instead of like a value of 1.
Yeah,
so it's
these-
like it would make more sense if like
If the
the flower
flowers-
ones were specifically harvesting at the beginning of the round. I know I won't get any points at the end, but I can do more stuff during the game.
Yes.
So if it was more spread out evenly that way, then like legit your bonus could be on any bonus tile. Like
Yeah, because like this, for having people out, you can get a coconut every round, and you're also getting 4 points per little worker that you go out.
Which is
You
that tile's great.
It's a great tile.
why
yeah.
would you never go for the flower one when that
Yeah,
one's available?
And then even the one where you gain shells, there's one that you gain shells every round, and then at the end of the game you'll have additional points just for having the resources left over.
Yeah.
You're like,
So that card,
It's-
that one
it's
even combos,
way even more
and it
amazing.
combos into itself because you get the shell.
Yeah.
So you will get the point.
yeah,
yeah, I think the game,
it's just
originally playing it with our first impressions, it had this facade of like that it was deeper than it on multiple plays actually seemed to be. It seems that there are some, you can luck into certain routes, like especially at the end of the game. With the migration spaces, like Keegan bought a tile and then happened to put one next to me that I had the resources for and was able to buy, and it just scored me 10 points for doing basically nothing, which normally you have to set up. Most of your turn is setting up, getting the right resources, getting to the right island, buying the right settler, and if you can just luck into it and get 10, 15 points.
simply because someone has to then just pick one of those two.
Yeah, or they just, maybe he didn't notice that I happened to be able to get it. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of, I mean, I still think it is interesting, but combined with, because we talked about it in our first impressions video, but like the art and some of the components we had some problems with, combined with, I was excited that there's these sort of modular pieces you can put on the board that change up the initial state, and I thought that would change it a lot, and it
It
It kind of just changes where the
trading.
conversions are. So
Yeah.
normally it's
Yeah.
like on the you can turn a coconut into 2 fish. Well, now it's just turn a shell into a. It doesn't actually change the game up that much. It just changes.
It went
the
from here to
locations.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same tile. It's just look at it. It's printed. It's the same thing.
It's the exact same conversion, harvest and trading, just moving around the island. That's not a replayability factor behind this, and that's unfortunate because the tiles are still coming out onto these migration spaces, and that's not mitigated in any way with these things. There's no like new sort of like mechanic going on with this trade. So
Like honestly, the biggest decision space for me in this game is picking what card you want to use at the beginning. Like that for me, I think is like the most important decision you're gonna make.
Yeah, that kind of
yeah.
bases your whole turn.
Yeah, do I beg and hope I can get some more resources so I can buy more stuff? And if I at least get one resource, I can probably buy something because I get a discount. Do I want the trader so all my resources has everything? Do I want the worker so I can do a double harvest and have an extra action? Like that's the most interesting part of the game is picking those cards.
And
for me.
I do think that is a really interesting part of the game because then you have to pass that card, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna like. I passed the beggar at the beginning of the game. That was my first action, and then I never got another one until maybe the very end because I don't know if you ever even played one.
That's because I was
So I never had another chance to even
and I
play
was
stuff.
holding 2 of them, and I just did 2 beggars in a row.
And I kept
trying to, like,
getting
bait you guys
traders
out.
and fishers. So like, I do think that's the most interesting. I mean, I do think there is sort of a fun small engine builder and then trying to figure out the most efficient way to get the settlers to get points.
The engine builder, it's not even really an engine building.
With the luck of the way they come out, it's just.
I wonder if it would just be better just to no migration tile, just straight up random, like
Maybe,
coming
but
out.
that's still
'Cause then you can't like.
You can't choose, but you still have the luck factor then at that point.
But then
I
at
don't-
least then like a whole section you can see that maybe there's 2 flowered ones here, right? People are just staying away from that because like, well, that's completely pointless. I don't want to go for that. If it's just completely random, you don't know where it is. Then you have to like moving around it becomes a little more important because.
Yeah.
Well, and then the 3-player game too. There's whole sections of the board. Like at the end of the game, Ryan and Keegan were in these 2 ports, and I was completely locked off from this area of the game because you can't be in the same space. So, which didn't end up like hurting me too bad. But if I had gone into a strategy where I was trying to get all my monuments out, like I had, like if I was getting like 6 or 8 points a monument, because there is a way to
Do that.
to do that, and then they just completely locked me out of putting monuments down. I don't know, in a 4-player game, the map's a little different, but in the 3-player game, you can get locked out of sections of the map. So, which there's just it's not. I don't feel like it's horrible. It's interesting. We've played it several times, but the more I play it, the less I want to play it.
The game doesn't have longevity.
No, it definitely does not.
That's my thing. I think for me, this is a game that I'm probably not going to keep because if someone
I'm not
says,
too sure
do you want to play a game? I don't think Tungaru is going to be a first choice for me after this amount of plays.
No.
Because I already feel like I've seen the game now. I don't need to play it anymore.
I mean, if you had a friend that bought it and you get to play it, I think it's worth trying out because the first couple games are interesting. It does have a couple interesting mechanics and it can be fun engine builder. But I don't know that I'd ever. I'm definitely not going to buy it. And no offense. And I don't think. I think it was fun for the games that we played of it. Like I enjoyed them, but I would not continue to pick this game.
No, I can see this game just being one of those games that you're constantly it's just constantly trading hands. Because it's just going to be like, I'm done with it. Do you want this now to try it out for a bit? And then they're going to play it for a few games to go, I'm done with this now too. Let's pass it on.
Yeah.
I think the art looks great. I think the deluxe components are very nice.
Yeah.
I think the idea is cool.
The player boards are a little.
The player boards are a little.
We did have an issue with that. That I had a lot of problem with. If they went with all these upgrade, like nice wooden pieces, custom ones, screen printed, just make a double plate. It's 4. It's 5. It's 5. You could have done double layered player board.
Yeah,
it's not that much more expensive.
Or just at least
It's
some
real-
fake cardboard or
like
something.
this game wasn't an expensive game.
No.
That Kickstarts.
Which,
so,
to be fair, for how much we paid for the Kickstarter, the deluxe pieces are, I think, more value than we paid. I think the deal was very good for Kickstarter for this game.
Yes.
It was a very good price, but I think it's not worth. Also, there's people flipping this already. I guarantee it. If you see this game for anywhere over $60, don't buy it.
No.
Don't buy it for over $60 from someone third party because no.
It's
But
not
if you can
worth
get
that much.
if you can get a good deal on it, I think it's worth trying out.
$50.
It's just,
If it's 50 or less, get it.
Yes.
I think it has some interesting gameplay in there, but I was happy to play it again, and now that we've played it several times, I'm happy to never play it again. Like I don't know that I'd ever go. I want to let's pull out Tungaru.
Yeah,
Compared to like if this is your first small engine builder, then like maybe you'll have some like sentimentality attached to it.
It's more dice placement than engine building.
Yeah,
You don't really have an engine.
It's not even.
You're just getting things to score points, and that's it.
I guess
It's really like just
conversion,
because you get
yeah.
one or two maybe resources every round, it's really not an engine building because you're not like it's not progressing farther.
It's more
like,
using the wrong terminology.
It's just like okay, I don't have to place a dice down to get a resources turn.
Yeah, it's more resource management than anything.
Yeah, dice. And I think with all the games out there, I just think there's games that have dice placement, resource management.
Yeah.
Same with this card
with just
aspect. I think there's
way
some other
more.
ones better. I'm trying to think. We played one where you pick like a leader, or like if you look at like paladins or something, right? Or viscounts that has this. You pick the cards from your hand, then that becomes your action for the round. I think it's a little bit more interesting than this one.
Yeah, I think
I wish they could have focused on a little bit more with these. Like that's a very, like you said, it was a very big part. Like this is the most strategic aspect almost of it is deciding which leader that you're going to pick that round.
I honestly wish there was like this might be for a different game than at that point, but I wish there was like a mechanic where you could get additional cards in your hand that do different things.
Yes.
Like there's like a nomad that recruits you another, like the nomad not only becomes like a tile, but it also gets you a card into your hand that's like another bonus thing you could do.
Which I think
like
a lot of games
maybe
are
an
sort of,
expansion.
I think a lot of games are sort of just starting to do that, dice, but worker placement. What is it? Deck builder, because that almost becomes like a deck builder at that point.
Well, I mean,
But
it
not
would
even
be
fully. It just gives you some
another
extra
option.
options. Yeah.
It'd be more
because
like
they're always available to you.
Yeah, it'd be more like Feudum at that point in a way where you you have your options always, and you get to pick whatever one you want.
Yeah.
Which I think, I really, really wish I could have liked this game more.
I know. Yeah,
It's
me
tricky
too.
because I actually really like the way they did the cards, and I think if it
Yeah.
was more like a Paladins, one of those types of things, I think that I like the way they implemented this more. I like the game.
Yeah.
I like the gameplay
Like,
of those others.
If we almost
more than the total gameplay of this.
Absolutely.
But that mechanic was interesting, and it's just it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, like I'm not disappointed that I bought it. It was fun while we played it the few times. It's just like okay, I'm good now. I don't need to. I can trade this off to play another game.
Yep.
With the cards, it almost I feel like could be like what you said, like a Paladins or Viscounts, where when you play it down and you play maybe another one, they somehow bonus off of each other. So then it can become just like it's just another aspect of this deciding which ones you want to play down and when.
Yeah.
It becomes even more of the strategy. This becomes a lot more because there's really not a whole lot of strategy going on here.
You kind of are.
Once you figure it out, you're like, okay, I'm just going here to trade this resource for this resource, and I need to go to that island to get that particular settler.
Yep. That's why like the cards are like the biggest decision space because the card that you play is what's gonna, like what you said earlier, it's gonna dictate your turn and what you're gonna try to go for and what you're gonna do. Because otherwise you're like, I want that tile, I'm gonna go do this so I can get the resources for that tile, and that's your turn.
It almost could be like you can end up playing 3 out.
Yeah.
They bonus off each other. One falls off to your neighbor. Play another one. They just kind of keep falling off to your neighbor.
Can I also say one mechanic that I think is really goofy and I don't understand?
Yeah.
When you can put a dude down on the board, right? And the dude you can spend to do one of 3 actions. How come your guy cannot harvest?
Yeah.
That thematically does not make sense to me. He can trade, but he can't harvest anything? I don't get that.
That aspect doesn't make sense.
This would have been way more powerful if you could use this to harvest a good. There's been so many times like I just want one shell, but I don't want to put my boat all the way over there.
Yes.
Can I just flip my guy down and just take a shell? Like I don't get why that's not a thing.
Yeah, so I guess
so.
Overall it was a fun experience, but maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of a missed opportunity. And
maybe an expansion can make this a little more interesting if you do something with the cards and different cards. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's our thoughts on it.
Definitely try it. I think it's worth trying, but don't worry if you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, don't spend more than $50 on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's our thoughts. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yep.
We're just three guys. So yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan.
I'm Max.
I'm Keegan.
We're Specular Board Games, and until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.